Hello and welcome inside the den for a new edition of Dry Heat with Mike Davis. Listen, 3 spots. If I take you on a date, if I take you to one of these 3 spots, that means I really like you. I had a girl visit me from LA just last weekend. Where did I take her? I took her to Tivoli Village to go to Al Solito Posto. But 3 spots: Esther's Kitchen, Al Solito Posto, and Ada's. And now there's a 4th. And the guy responsible for all of this, one of my favorite culinary masterminds, the guy who's the face of Las Vegas when it comes to food, Mr. James Trees, is here with us inside the den for Dry Heat. This has been a long time coming. We've done stuff on TV before, but I needed to get the full conversation with you. How are you doing? How is this 4th spot that I was alluding to just opened? It's called Bar Bohème. Am I saying this right? I'm from New Jersey. I don't have a lot of class. Bar Bohème.
I'm from the east side of Vegas, so I don't have a lot of class either. Bar Bohème is our French restaurant, and our little cocktail bar is actually called Le Petit Bohème. And that's just a little offshoot to the side. It's a separate building, and we do like beautiful French cocktails in there, little bites of food, and then we have the French restaurant that just opened about 4 weeks ago.
Okay, so now I'm so excited. We're going to get into your whole story, but if there's one thing that I can compel our audience to try, and the reason why I love this man so much is, listen, I love bread. I love gluten. I have an Ashkenazi Jewish stomach, and I still love bread. That's how much I love it, because I probably should not be even consuming gluten, but your gluten is the best effing gluten on the face of the earth. Okay, let's just break this down, because I've read articles. I know there's a new type of gluten because of the French element here that we're going to be excited about. But let's go back to the 3 initials. Esther's Kitchen, right? Not just the pizza, but this sourdough that you can buy. You guys were giving this out for free during the pandemic.
We were.
You know, that's how good you guys are. But sourdough, baked daily, fresh, with all these accoutrements, with the garlic, anchovy, butter, all these different things you can put on the side. So you got that. At Al Solito Posto, you got the focaccia.
Yeah.
It's fun to say. It's fun to eat.
It's like that tall.
It's delicious. It may even be better than the sourdough. And then Ada's got so much great stuff as well. But now Bar Bohème is going to have French baguettes that are baked daily. Like, I've never been to Paris, but you're telling me a cheaper excursion for me, I could go to the Bar Bohème and actually taste what a real French baguette tastes like.
Absolutely. It's our levain base, which is the sourdough base that we use at Esther's. And we got a flour from Lyon, France, which is called T65 flour, which is it's traditional flour. And it's traditional, it's organic, and it is the flour you must use legally in France to call it a Parisian baguette. And we're the only ones in the city that use this flour.
You mean you have to get this special thing from Lyon? It's kind of like
you have to have flour milled in Lyon, shipped to New York, and then trucked from New York to Las Vegas.
Okay, now with tariffs, with all these things going on, what does that cost to act like it? It must be worth it to a degree. I mean, I like how it's that authentic.
Yeah, I think it's really important that, if you're going to dive deep into a culture and you're going to try to transport people with food.
Yes.
I think it's really important that you get the correct products in order to do that. And yeah, tariffs are going to be a pain, but at the end of the day, it's about the taste and the flavor of the food and creating simple joys. Like, bread is a simple joy.
It's such a joy, and I love it so much. I try to abstain from it, but I can't, because Saturday night I'm having this focaccia with the dip and the way it's prepared, and you guys just make it so special. I guess you call it bread service. I never worked in a restaurant or a kitchen, but you make bread service so special.
We take something that used to get thrown on the table and thrown away.
Yeah.
We turn it into something that's worthy of paying for.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think is really important. The reason why we did the sourdough at Esther's to start was because I came out to Vegas from running restaurants in LA, where we had a full bakery and we made all of our own product. And I went to every single bakery and tried their bread, and it was all terrible. So I just didn't really, think that we were going to be able to do it. And then I was like, you know what? The only way that we're going to have the product that we want is if we create it. And I took that kind of like idea and I applied it to the pasta as well, because we make all the pasta for all the restaurants.
Handmade.
Even at Esther's, we don't have a can opener. Like, we don't use canned tinned tomatoes. Like every single thing that we
Wow.
do is done in-house. We buy the best products from either, regionally or internationally. Like there's not a piece of cheese that we use in Esther's or El Solito that comes from America.
It's amazing. It's remarkable. But let's start at the beginning with your journey because it's you were a part of the CIA. And when I say the CIA, I'm not talking about the government agency, the Culinary Institute of America. When I was doing research on you, it seems like this was a big moment in your life of kind of taking you to the next level. But there's a few things before we even get to that I think are fascinating. So you're born and raised Las Vegas guy, Las Vegas high school. You get this internship working at the Mirage. But when I'm going back and learning all about you, the thing that struck me is you became the youngest sous chef ever
Yes.
to work at a 5-star 5-diamond hotel Bellagio for Michael Mina at Aqua, I guess. This is before CIA or after?
This is actually after.
Okay.
I started at the Mirage as an intern when I was 16 years old. So I was actually able to do the CIA internship at the Mirage before Bellagio opened in 1996.
So you did a CIA internship, Culinary Institute of America,
Yep.
which is in New York, and that's where you studied, but you actually had an internship with it before you actually went to New York and did the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I actually got the experience that the kids that were coming out of CIA got. I got when I was 16.
And people like Anthony Bourdain, I mean, Roy Choi, all these guys. I mean, there's a lot of remarkable people that are part of this pedigree and have that background. So it's a special thing. Todd English, Michael Mina as well. So you had that kind of opportunity. What a pleasure at such a young age to take to that and have that experience. And so what did you decided after getting a little taste? I got to go to the culinary CIA and try to really make this happen?
There were really two different schools of thought. This was before culinary school was cool, because there was a time where going to culinary school was all the rage and everyone was going to Cordon Bleu and everything else. When I went to CIA, it was very, very regimented. It was very, very tough. It was very few people were able to graduate with their class because you had 7-day and 14-day classes. And if you miss one day in a 7-day class, you fail automatically.
Is that just to paint a picture? It's like you're gonna probably laugh, but like my only point of reference is like the Bear, is the Bear Show FX is when he goes to that train. Is it like it's like intense like that where it's almost like you're getting whipped? If you're not performing.
We had teachers that would literally make you do this to check your fingernails.
Really?
Yeah, they would make sure that if your fingernails weren't perfect, if your neckerchief wasn't perfect, if your uniform wasn't perfect, if your hat wasn't perfect, if your shoes weren't polished, you got kicked out of class. Like they were very seriously militant.
I love that.
Teachers, and it's a beautiful thing. I don't not miss it.
Do you think most people going there, because you just strike me as the guy from reading stories about you, it's just, you seem like you were such a coachable guy. You were humble, always right attitude. Like if we're aligning this with or likening this to the sports and the playing field, you would just be a coach's dream kind of guy. So, and it seems like
I have to say you're completely wrong. I was I mean, one of the reasons why I own my own businesses is because I'm a terrible employee.
I don't believe it. There's no way. How do you become the youngest sous chef ever and not be that way? At 21, you had to be an old soul. You could have been uncoachable and that.
No, definitely not. No, in fact, I was hyper immature. I remember when they made me a sous chef, the first place that they really put me that they knew that I would struggle was they made me run the Bellagio buffet. At the age of 21, I was running a $50 million apparatus at Bellagio, and because they didn't have a chef for the place, so I was the only guy. So I was up there and I was working because they knew I'd work 14, 15 hours a day. And I had 72 union employees who I was in charge of, and they ate my lunch. I did not know how to talk to people. I did not know how to manage or lead. It was a huge wake-up call. And if it wasn't for Chef Edmund Wong, who was running Bellagio at that time, there's no way I would have been successful. And to be 100% honest, like, I think there's a difference between like the success that people see and the 25 years of failure before that, right? Like the cool thing about my business is you only have to get it right once. right? If you get it right once, people will start trusting you. But until you get it right, you really don't have a voice. And you have to do it for yourself. And that's what Esther's was for me. But like, you have to realize I got fired by Michael Mina 3 times. I got fired from Aqua, right? I got fired from San Francisco when I was at his flagship restaurant. And I got fired from 14 in LA. So I got fired as a cook. I got fired as a chef de cuisine. And I got fired as a sous chef. So like,
And you fired, why?
Well, because honestly, because, you know, I was the Draymond Green. Like that's the reference point. Like I
love Draymond Green.
Yeah,
I'm a Draymond Green guy.
Yeah.
Like as a sports guy,
Yeah.
I think that's so pertinent to
Yeah.
championship DNA
Right.
cores.
Loyal.
So what does that mean? Okay,
It
so
means you're loyal, you're hardworking, you're willing to jump in and get in, do the dirty work.
and you're a nut job.
You're gonna, yeah. And I was a nut job because I've never had a problem working 15, 16 hours a day. It
Right.
doesn't bother me, and I can do it for months at a time. And these are the things like when I was on the when I was opening restaurants for Michael, he would literally just be like, "Send the." That's it, and they would send me to Miami, and I would go fire the chef and go start working. And that's what my job was.
So, okay, so let me understand all this. And that's why it's like, I feel like a lot of people must come up to you and like, oh, like you're the guy who's on the cover of magazines,
Right.
you're the face of the culinary scene in Las Vegas. I'm not saying I don't think that you had 25 years of striving and grinding. Like me, I'm the poster child for that. I mean, my first job, I was Howard Stern's.
Yeah.
I mean, so like I understand the same trajectory stuff 100% as well. And, even a guy like Howard Stern who's becomes the best, you got to take time, you got to grind, you go to certain
Washington,
markets.
DC,
Yeah,
yeah.
you got to do your whole thing, even
Yeah.
smaller than that. So I did that as well. So I appreciate that. And that's why I do the research and I try to find the through line
Right.
with all these stories, because yes, you don't just wake up and have Esther's Kitchen. A lot has to happen in before that. But I think that journey, it's not only as I've gotten older, the part that makes it so much sweeter, and I think what you yearn for at certain points, even when you're successful, but it shows you the reason for people's success. So how many people, when you were at like CIA, had so much, like, Draymond Green, he doesn't have the best jump shot.
Right.
He's not the best ball handler. He's a great passer. I'd say he's an A+ passer. He's got great vision and stuff, but he's undersized for the position that he plays. So in a lot of ways, I could see that. Were there guys that just had the elite athleticism, like the Darius Miles athleticism, but they never really fully get their potential and they never match that? How many people when you were in school did you just see, oh my God, not only is this guy's cuticles like 100% perfect, but this guy can really make some handmade pasta, but they just never are able to make it happen for themselves.
And I think that I think being told no and being told I was wrong for decades really actually prepared me for owning my own restaurant and doing these things. I think everything is a coachable moment. And I think that, I saw people with way more talent than me early in my career move way past where I was. And, if you're trying to get on the A team and you think that you have the skill and you're doing the work and you're doing the thing, eventually you realize that the thing that's holding you back is you, right? The thing that was holding me back was myself. Like, I was a little bit immature. I was not always coachable. I was loyal, but I would I would go too hard, at my team. I had a lot of negatives I had to work out over time, and then when you hit your stride, and you realize that your job isn't to Draymond's rebounding right now, but do you think Draymond's going to be a good coach? Because being a chef and being a cook are two very, very different things.
So how did you get to the point where you're the guy who's, hard on your team, hard to work with, all these types of things that you're saying, to then becoming the guy when it's COVID-19, it's the pandemic, every restaurateur is looking for ways to get the handout from the government and do all these things. Meanwhile, you're the guy who says and is quoted, I would have let Esther's Kitchen, your baby, that was, a nest egg from great Aunt Esther. You're like, I'll let this place fail. I'll let it go under before I'm going to cut any employees and do anything and send anybody home. So how did you, is that just innately who you are, that second part of that? Or did you actually have to get it beaten out of you to understand and appreciate that? What's the common way that you really are at your
I
core?
think it's like if you build a team of people that you trust around you, and they trust you because you provide security to them, it's really important that when things get hard, that you don't run from them. To be very clear and very honest, I had to lay off all of my hourly employees. Like, I laid off my hourly employees. I got out the computer, and we sat there and we signed them all up for unemployment right there in the restaurant, to make sure that they were the first ones in line. Mm-hmm. And this is like, when we found out this was going to happen. And I fought it. I really did. I was actually in Austin and Spicewood about to cook for Willie Nelson, and I had to come back and lay off my my staff. And so I did lay off hourly employees. My management staff
stayed. I
paid them full boat, health benefits, everything all the way through. And we were in a good enough position where, for me, I don't know, like, I know this sounds dumb because I run restaurants that do millions and millions of dollars in sales. I'm not money motivated. I care about people. Like, mm-hmm. I know that, like, a great coach cares about his players.
Yeah.
Right. And, like, I look at someone like, maybe I'm like the Pat Riley character that Adrian Brody plays.
Yeah.
Right?
Showtime. Yeah.
Where it's like, you really care about these guys. At the same time, you will turn around and you will yell at them, scream at them, throw them off the team, put them on the bench. I remember when we opened Esther's, I used to turn the music up in the restaurant so I could yell louder at the staff.
Well, it's so interesting. There's so many things to talk about, but it really is interesting, and I love all the sports parallels here. Yep. So Esther's in particular. So, this great Aunt Esther mm-hmm. of yours, your dad was a musician, right?
Yep.
Your mom more like...
She was a teacher.
Really valued education. So your great Aunt Esther, not only did she write the check for the CIA, but she gave you this nest egg in this Esther's kitchen. So from what I understand and gather, with the Lev Group, you got Solito Posto, you got Ada's and all that stuff. You have a business partner even with Bar Bohème, but yep. Esther's kitchen is something that's always just been yours,
it's just
right?
Yeah.
It's just yours. And then
95% mine and 5% my sister's, and she would like to think that those roles are reversed. However... And
that's Amanda, right?
That's Amanda.
Okay,
She's
we got to shout out to Amanda. But so let me ask you this. I feel close enough to ask you this. So, Esther's Kitchen, the original, mm-hmm. okay? Of course, there was something so special about that space, right? Just how, there was an intimacy in there. And then it got so popular that you had to expand. Was there ever even a part of you that was like, we have to expand to fit the numbers, but there's a magic about the original that you were unsure if you wanted to do that?
I was so scared of messing up the new Esther's. And the reason why that is because you're 100% right. There was something magical about that original space. And even though we only moved 20 feet away, like literally moved 20 feet away,
right.
But like we pulled the wood off the walls to put into the new Esther's.
Yeah.
The new pass, like, is all the same wood.
Yeah.
Like, all of the elements in there were designed by me and Amanda, and I gave Amanda carte blanche to go through, and she created, like, the wainscoting, the vinyl wraps, all the different things, like around the bar, how it has like an edge where they, you can put drinks and you can hang out and actually just sit on the window. Like, that's something that she created.
The details.
The details inside of the design are 100% Amanda. And she struggled with it too. Because she was afraid to mess it up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, having seen like how she did it, the original, and all the different things that she brought to the space that made it what it is, she's a huge part of that success, because it's not about food. It's about the way you make people feel.
Yeah.
Right. Like, cool. We have good food. I've spent 2/3 of my life working on how to make good food. That's great. The part that's hard is creating the magic around the service and the vibe and the hospitality.
Can you teach somebody that? Or is that like, you can't go to CIA and learn that, right? Like that's not a course.
You can learn service. Service is a course.
Right.
Service when it comes to you do this first, second, third,
But
fourth,
there's a
fifth,
different, but service, like, listen, I'm a consumer. Yes, there is great service, but there's a different kind of service at like Esther's, even at Solito Posto. I mean, it's just, there's a different ADAs. It's the service is, the only way I can express it is, and I think hopefully I'm not a lot of things, but I pride myself on this. I think when people, especially, you know, when they see me on TV and when they see me doing my thing, they can see the selfish enjoyment that I get from doing my job. And I think there's a lot of people that are better journalists. There's a lot of people that can do a lot of things better than me. But I do think I am very good at being able to selfishly enjoy and have other people want to be a part of that, you know, and bring people in. And I feel like even Saturday night when I'm at Solito Posto, the guys that come around and do basic water service and refill, like all those people, there's such a smile, such an enthusiasm, such a pride about things, you know, so that's service. But then you could go to a stuffy place where the guy knows service,
right,
but they don't make you feel anything.
And that's the thing is like, the funny thing is the more high-end the restaurant, the more relaxed the service actually is, because that's the difference between what we're talking about is two different things. We're talking about the difference between service and hospitality. Service is getting you what you ask for when you want it at the right time and making sure that like the meal goes well.
So like you gotta talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. Like
hospitality is everything else.
So like Ratatouille, like the Pixar movie,
right?
When it's kind of stuffy and bad, and it's like, so what is that?
So that's a restaurant that is a caricature. Excuse me. That's a caricature of what old school fine dining used to be.
Okay.
New school fine dining is uber approachable. Like maybe not the ingredients, but the more laid back a restaurant is, the more comfort you're gonna feel when you're there. But if you're there and there are 8 people staring at you while you taste this little pea that they give you on a thing, that's not really service. And then they take it away and they give you a fork and then they give you the thing. You take out the fork and you eat the thing and they take it away and they give you again. Like that is
snobby.
It's snobby, elitist, and on top of it, like food has become one of those things where it's actually like people will spend huge amounts of money like they would on like a purse. Like it's the Louis Vuitton purse of our time is going to beautiful restaurants and being able to have this kind of lifestyle. Right. And what I always say is restaurants are a reprieve from society and reality, right? The same way we go and watch sports to watch heroes create magic in front of our eyes. Like we go to restaurants for that same feeling.
When you're at the CIA and you're doing, you know, this training and you're learning all these lessons and you're surrounded by all these pioneers and all this stuff, do you almost feel yourself getting drawn to that? Or were you always able to know, no, this is the reason why I'm getting into this business. This is when I one day have a place of my own, this is what I want it to feel like.
I think it's really important that you have to be able to do both. You have to be able to understand the workings and the ins and outs and the technical precision and all that stuff that goes into those really
and then break the rules.
High end, and then you have to create your version of that.
Right.
But, you know, like, and that's the thing is like Esther is like, we are an Italian restaurant that uses an insane amount of French technique inside of our like every single thing that we do, every sauce that we make is basically a French sauce, right? But we dress them up in a way where people are like, oh, this is Italian food, right? That's something that like, you know, like we couldn't make the rigatoni alla vodka at Solito without understanding the French sauce, the soubise. If the soubise was wrong, then the base sauce for that sauce would be wrong, right? Like these are things that we understand at a technical level that come from French cuisine and that hoity-toity dining.
Okay, so
but then end up in your rigatoni olive vodka.
I gotcha. So at CIA, when you're saying you weren't naturally gifted, you were more this Draymond Green.
Right.
What would be a natural gift that somebody would have when they go to, like, I'm really curious. Like, does that mean they're just naturally good with knife skills? Does that mean they really just know flavors well? Like, what are those things that
absolutely.
you can be naturally gifted at?
You
Like,
can
I'm good at talking, right? Like, what would be that for?
I'll tell you right now, a lot of it is personality, and a lot of it in the beginning, because you have to understand, CIA is a trade school. They teach you a trade, and back in the day, like when it wasn't cool to go to cooking school, like you go there because you had to you flunked out of Ivy League school, right? And you can't go to any of those, but you want to get an Ivy League degree, so you want to go to Cornell. This was a way to get into Cornell. So you got to learn how to cook and do all that, but it was like a pathway to
Yeah, because Cornell's known for, they even have like a cheese client, like they're known for, Cornell's got a lot of that.
Right. But they're also an Ivy League school. So all these kids who were not smart enough to be able to, make it at Yale would end up failing out and going to cooking school. And that's what it was for a while. And it was really hard to get in because you had to like go and work, and you had to get like submission letters and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, then when I got there, the people who were successful were personable, which when I was younger, I was not very personable. I was always just head down working, wanted to do my thing. I cared about the craft. People always say like,
but I think that serves you well later on.
Eventually those things will serve you. But if like,
you can't be all personality and zero craft.
Well, let's put it like this. My nickname for about 5 years when I worked for Michael Mina was literally the
right.
Like
you said that earlier.
Like, well, send the
I think that's
to Miami.
Could your fifth restaurant be called that? I would love that. I want to partner.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like the way the Bears called the Bears, I'm just called the.
Yeah, I would love that. I think that place would be amazing.
No, trust me, you don't want that guy, because that guy, even though he's regimented and he cares about the guests,
he doesn't make that magic that we're talking about.
Simplification, overt like technical skill.
Yeah.
Right, put onto a plate feels cold and dry.
Yeah, no, I feel I could see that. It's more we're talking intangibles. It's like with the Draymond Green, there's tangibles and then there's intangibles. So when you're at CIA, did you meet guys like did you ever meet like Eric Repair was like a mentor and somebody you worked with? I know he was close with Bourdain. Did you ever meet Bourdain?
You know what? No. If you look at the Bourdain show where he like travels around different cities, in America, he goes to LA. I was gonna have dinner with him at my buddy Jordan Kahn's old restaurant called Red Medicine, and I was gonna be able to have that experience and sit down and have dinner with him and actually get to hang out, but he like canceled the last minute, and they just shot us having dinner at Red Medicine. I never got to meet Bourdain. I think that he was amazingly influential for food journalism and especially for the travel end of that. But you have to understand that like Bourdain wasn't a great chef. He just wasn't. He was like, slinging pans, burning stuff.
And he admits that kind of.
Yeah. I mean, like when you look at him and then you look at Eric Repair, who's like finesse and care and technical ability versus like this guy who's gonna make a great pate and put it on the thing and serve a frisee salad with it.
Right.
It's a different kind of cooking.
But I love that friendship that they were so different and they could respect each other in that fashion. So yeah, he was an enthusiast, and I think Bourdain really took away that snootiness that I think people hate, and it made it hard for people like me who are from New Jersey, who kind of have a little bit more of just like, a realness to them that I hate stuffiness. That's my least favorite quality in a human being, probably would be stuffiness. So Bourdain made everything so much more digestible, and accessible for the regular person. What do you think as like a high level guy within the culinary space? What for an everyday guy like me who doesn't know anything about food, that's why I love Bourdain. Why do you think you love Bourdain, and do a lot of basketball inside, like an inside basketball, inside baseball, would inside chefs take to him the same way, or do some people not like that?
I think the thing about Bourdain that chefs in general there are two different things. There's a side of him that is a complete degenerate, right? Heroin addict, right? Heroin addict for
Right.
years and years and years, chain smoking, drinking his face off constantly, like, right? Like
Yeah.
living a degenerate lifestyle, yet being immensely successful. And there was this myth that cooks could do that. And there's still like, I have a bunch of cooks like today that like get done, they go to the bar till 3 a.m, they party, they do their thing. Fantastic. But they don't last. They don't last because they're taking that idea of what a chef should be, and that's where all the chef tattoos and all the BS came from. Like that is one end of a spectrum of our reality. The part that I loved about Anthony and about what he created inside of the space for food was he broke down the wall between really fancy, expensive food
Yeah.
and like immigrant food.
Yeah.
So like take like something like when he goes to Vietnam and goes and eats pho or goes and eats a bong kun or a pancake from Vietnam.
Yeah.
He's sitting on a stool on the side of a road drinking
Right.
a beer that costs 10 cents,
Yeah.
eating a meal, and he's enjoying that experience
Yeah.
as much as he was when he went to Gordon Ramsay in London and
Yeah.
had dinner there and ate all the truffles and foie gras and all the things, right? Like, I think one of the things is both of those experiences on a culinary level are the same
Right.
because you're
No, it's-
traveling.
Exactly.
You're going to a place, a specific place to have a specific experience. And that can be fulfilling in a $2 way or a $2,000 way. That's the coolest thing that I think that Anthony brought to the magic that became the culinary scene.
I love that. I think it's like, and I'm not. I would love to be a Bourdain. I would be 2% of him. As a TV person, I would love that. But I think it's a great expression. I think I can appreciate musically. I can appreciate Chopin. I could also appreciate Soulja Boy.
Yeah.
You know, I like both of them
Exactly.
for different things, and I think that's a special type of thing. So, all right, so let me understand this. So I'm so fascinated, but. So you're at the CIA,
Yep.
and you're making sure your fingernails are fastidious. You're making sure all these things are going. Is there ever a part in your mind that is like, wow, this is just not for me? Or did you always have that calling and understanding? Or was it more so like, man, great Aunt Esther, you know, she wrote the check. I gotta prove her right, and I gotta do right by her and make sure I'm successful because I got to honor my family and all that stuff. Or was this something really you could see in the future? I want these things for myself. I want to be the face of culinary. And
Definitely did not know. No, absolutely not. No. In fact, I was quite the opposite. In fact, I used to tell people all the time, I never want to own my own restaurant. I just want to be paid very highly for my opinion.
Right. And you said like a Michael Mean as somebody who does that sometimes.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like, you know, Michael has a bunch of restaurants, but I don't know how many he actually owns. A lot of his stuff is operating agreements and management agreements. And that is a way that you can build a company in the food space.
Right. It's like consulting more.
Doing it my way is the hardest way that you can do this. Like when you have to like pay every employee, make sure payroll is perfect, and that money comes out of your bank account, that's when you're really a restaurant owner. But
now,
as far as like the past,
right?
Like I 100% did not want to own a restaurant. I didn't want to. For the most part, didn't like being in front of the camera doing all that stuff. I used to make Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay.
Right.
And let me tell you, I hated having to be on camera. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't something.
What were you doing with him with that? What does that mean?
So basically, I would do Hell's Kitchen and Kitchen Nightmares. In Hell's Kitchen, you'll see the mirrors around the kitchen. There are obviously no mirrors in a normal kitchen. Behind those are blinds. I can literally watch someone messing something up, and I would just radio to Gordon and be like, hey, he's messing this up. He's burning a steak. He's doing this. Turn around and yell at him, and he would turn around and yell at him.
Hold on. I had no...
Yeah.
Wait, whoa. You're telling me you worked for Gordon Ramsay on Hell's Kitchen and Kitchen Nightmares, and it's almost like how many people were doing this with you?
I had a team of probably 6 or 7.
So it's almost like if you were like a coach in a football and you were saying schematically there, something's
Belichick.
wrong here, and then you would pipe into Belichick and say, "Hey, coach, take a look at the tight end. He's, So that was your job.
Yeah, that was my job. Yeah.
Now, could Gordon Ramsay identify these things himself if you weren't there, or is it just more so he needed more eyes?
Here's the thing: is like if you're looking at the two different kitchens and the different people in those kitchens and all the things that are happening while you're trying to do the service thing and do the pass thing and do all these other things. Like, and you have the executive producers in your.
It's a lot.
Like, it's a lot. Like,
so so give me an example. Let's do like go through a run through. Let's just pretend we're doing this right now. So you're watching something happen and phone it in to me.
Okay, so I'll be in the middle of if you look at the red and blue kitchen at Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Right. There's mirrors on both sides, and then there's a thing that has the HK logo on it. All right, both of those sides, I can see on both sides what they're doing. And I can look across and see every single station from the inside of the kitchen. And I'll sit in there, and don't get me wrong, there's no air conditioning in there, so it's like 130 degrees. So you're sitting in there, and you're just like, you're mic'd up. You have like the little earpiece in, right, which is super weird. And you're like watching. This guy can't see you, and you're sitting there while he's like looking up at the mirror and like fixing his face and doing all this stuff, right? And then he goes back down and he touches a bunch of food, and you're like, yeah, let that pass. Whatever.
Okay.
You know, Gordon's not going to yell at someone for that unless they're like dripping on the food, right? And then you turn around and they're like, their risotto's burnt and their steak's undercooked and their scallops are overcooked and this and that. And you're like, just so you know, your pickup is going to be 4 minutes. And the scallops are going to be overcooked, and the salmon's going to be raw, and the risotto is going to be raw. I can look and see that stuff. I've been doing this for 25 years.
So do you develop that? That's like it's like you're in the Avengers. It's like you're a Marvel superhero. So you develop.
I've literally yelled at my cooks, and I've said, I can see from 20 feet away that that's not right, and you're right in front of it. What's wrong with you?
So you develop that skill at CIA, or how do you?
You develop that skill from the time I was 15 to now that I'm 45. For the last 30 years, this has been the passion of my life.
So you just you can tell if somebody too much salt, that you got to get that steak. I can tell if a steak is overcooked from 25 feet away. So how do you enjoy, when you shut down James Trees and being all that stuff at your place, and you just go to Roberto's?
Yeah.
Or you go to Del Taco? Are you incapable of shutting that down? You're like, oh my God, this is like, I bite into this bean and cheese burrito and it's, the tortilla. Or you're watching an open kitchen at a chicken shack and you're seeing this guy. I mean, he's put it's not going to taste good. He's put in too much. So is it always running, or can you shut that off?
I think the most important thing at the end of the day is to remember that we, for the most part, we don't eat for sustenance anymore. We eat for enjoyment. And if you go in and watch a sports game and you don't like that team and you're going to have a bad time and you want to root against them, you're going to have a bad time. Like if I go to a restaurant, like one of the things I hate more than anything is when chef sends me 15 dishes I didn't order because they want to impress me or say thank you or whatever.
Right.
I'm like, I want to go in, I want to order the food. I want to bill every it's one of the craziest things I never understood. Like, have you noticed that since you got more and more kind of uppity in your life, people comp you more?
Yeah, I would have liked it more when I had no money.
Right. So I say comp my cook who comes in.
Right.
Don't comp me. Comp my GM when he comes in with his for his anniversary. Take care of those guys. Take care of teachers. Take care of all these other people who are doing this and who really can't afford to be here and really are going who are taking a chance on you. Comp those people.
No, 100%. And I've eaten with you, and we got to give a shout to Eric Gladstone.
Yeah.
Where did we go? We went in Chinatown.
We went to Shanghai Taste.
Right. So I went there, and I'm with you, Eric Gladstone. We're, enjoying this meal, and it was just a pleasure for me with Eric being an enthusiast, me being an enthusiast, but then being able to understand why this was special. Yeah. And breaking it all down and those types of things. But yes, we got a bill like you were.
Absolutely.
It's a different kind of thing. Yeah.
And that's the thing is I want that bill and I want to tip 50% on that bill.
Right.
My joke to servers is, I know they told you to comp me. The more money you charge me, the more money I tip.
Right.
That's literally what I tell people. I'm like, please, because I want to see the restaurant do well. I go to restaurants because I want to see them do well, not because I want free.
Right. So
And so many people nowadays with the Instagram and this, that, and the other thing, they just want free stuff.
yeah.
And you know what I want? I want that restaurant to be successful for 15 years. I want that family to be able to put their kid into college. Because a lot of like restaurants that I go to are family businesses. They're independently owned. They're immigrant families. And that for me, and being able to support those people are so much more important than going to Carbone and dropping $600 on dinner.
No, 100%. And I do think sometimes it's weird, but when you get older, you understand it's not just a pride, but the experience is sometimes better when you do pay for things. And when
Always.
there is something special. I'm not saying, yes, of course, comp things are nice. I'm not going to say I don't take.
There's only one person who I don't get to who comps me all the time, which is Nick Tolley from Cleaver and Rye. But he's also driving around in a $500,000 Rolls Royce.
Oh, okay.
So you can comp. I'll give you a piece of cheese when you come to my restaurant.
So let me understand this. So let's just say I became super duper wealthy overnight. Okay. And I wanted to start a Jewish deli, or I wanted to start,
the hardest business to ever run.
Okay,
the hardest.
Say that. Let's just say I liked, because there's a lot of people that I think get into, like, they like the idea of having a restaurant, right?
I'm probably millions of dollars do that.
And I'm like probably one of those people who would be like that. Like, let's just say I became like, David Letterman, and I was like, okay, I want to end up having a restaurant because I think it's a cool concept, right?
Right.
So, okay. What would be the number one mistake? Like if I was gonna hire you to be my consultant now, because I got all this money, tell me some of the major mistakes that people, like the top 3 of the guy who gets money, wants the restaurant now because it's kind of cool.
Yep.
And the 3 big mistakes right off the bat this person's going to make that because it's just like, you're stupid, and I'm going to tell you you're going to fail because you did these 3 things. Yeah. What are those 3 things?
Number 1, are you opening the restaurant for yourself or for other people?
Okay.
That's number 1. It's egocentric driven dining will always fail. So that's number 1.
All right, so I'm already failing.
So because you want to do it. Number 2.
Okay, but
the choice of cuisine.
Okay.
Like Jewish deli food is the hardest for I can think of 3 immediate reasons. Number 1, the labor factor. Everything is made in house.
Yeah.
Every bagel. You ever brine and smoke pastrami?
Yeah, I do it every Wednesday.
Okay,
night.
so when you do that, that means you have to have refrigeration to brine it for 7 days. Then you have to smoke it. Then you have to serve it. Like that level of work.
It's intense.
It's intense work because those navel cuts they used to be cheap. Like they used to be cheap to buy, briskets and stuff like that. They're not cheap anymore.
No,
in fact, because of like barbecue, they're like $7, $8 a pound. You can't that means you're selling sandwiches at $28 a pound. Number 3, you charge what you think it should cost, not what it actually should cost. That's number 3. If you do those 3 things, you will automatically fail in this business. and understand, like I was a consultant for a little while.
Yeah.
And I was the worst consultant of all time. And the reason why is because most consultants are there to take your money.
Right.
Not to see you be successful. They want you to have your vision.
Yeah, people want to pay them to hear what they want to hear rather than what they really need to hear.
And I was terrible at that.
No, but I would be, listen, I'm bad at a lot of things, and maybe I want a restaurant for egocentric reasons, but I would be honest enough to know, no, I need, like, if I was a musician, I would want Rick Rubin to beat the shit out of me and tell me everything I'm doing wrong, and I would take feedback. I'm good at feedback.
Do you want some inside baseball about a Jewish deli that you'll probably even know?
Yes.
Nate Now's.
Okay.
In Los Angeles.
Yeah, I've never been, but I just saw it.
Everyone loves it. Blah, blah, blah. Did you know the owner of that is the owner of Irving Azoff?
Oh,
so
okay, from
Irving
the Eagle,
exactly.
Famous music executive, founded the Eagles, basically.
Also created the Oakview Group.
Oh, okay.
Who now does all the concessions for Allegiant Stadium and stuff like that. His wife Shelly is a wonderful, wonderful lady. She got them to buy that place. She loses $1 million a year at Nate Now's. It makes no financial sense to keep that business open except for the fact that she likes it.
Right.
Now, if you're Irving Azoff and you have billions upon billions of dollars,
Yeah.
you can make a decision to lose $1 million a year.
Yeah. It's almost at that point.
But if you think you have money and you have like $30 million,
yeah, you can't sustain it. Yeah.
you would not be able to sustain that. It would literally bankrupt.
Yeah, no, it's almost like olden days where it's like when you're Azov like that, it's like the Medici family and how they would almost like they'd be a supporter of the arts, you know, and like Shakespeare or all these people, like they're getting subsidized by the royalty, you know, and it's kind of so that's interesting. So okay, and I'm sure so many guys, like you're out and about town, people know you're a celebrity. People come up to you and they're like, they got 30 mil, which is a lot, of course, but it's not Irving Azov. But they probably come up to you, dap you up, and they're like, hey, dude, like, you know, I want to, like, let's do something. I got some money, and you're probably like, this dude's gonna.
Oh, what's the linebacker for the Raiders that opened the barbecue restaurant?
Brandon Marshall.
He asked me a bunch of questions. I was like, dude, you should not open this restaurant. That is my honest advice to him. Like after like listening to it for 5 minutes, I'm like, you have no idea how to run a restaurant. Like running a restaurant, you have to be an accountant. You have to be a plumber. You have to be an electrician. You have to be, and here's the thing is if you're not those things, guess what happens? Those are just check, well, no, failure.
You know, and you know what my version of this is? My version of this, and that's why I understand your pain, is how everybody has a podcast nowadays. Bro. I've been doing this for years. I started doing stand-up at 17, going on stage, opening for Uncle Floyd. He used to be on Johnny Carson. I used to, Sherman Helmsley. Like I was doing, so I've been through so much pain of understanding how to get people to open up. Doing guest research. Yes, I got Howard Stern's breakfast and his lunch. Right. But if Neil Young came in, I would give him 20 pages of notes on Neil Young. And it wasn't for me, it was for Howard. But I learned these things. So to me, when somebody just thinks I can have I can become the next Caller Daddy and I'm going to do a podcast in my basement, it does upset me. It's personal to me.
People want me to have a podcast. I'm like, you're out of your mind.
But it makes me...
I've told the same story on 19 podcasts about where I came from, all this stuff. Right. No one really wants to go beyond that.
But this one's different though, right?
But here's the thing: is you're asking better questions.
Okay, good.
Because most people most people do a short format. Right? Like if you know, like let's look at it. Like who's the best podcaster in the world? Joe Rogan's the best podcaster in the world. Why? He has 25 or 27 or 3,000 episodes under his belt. He puts no time limits on stuff, and he just talks to people. Right? That's the format that people are engaging with. Right? When everyone tries to make it a radio show, that's where they up.
Yeah, and now full disclosure for this, we're going to be doing a 22-minute cut down for the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. But first and foremost, I wouldn't do that unless we had the opportunity to make it full and to make it accessible for people online.
Format
and that's why I loved my old position here at Fox 5 and doing live TV. There's a juice you get from live TV, but I wanted to go where the wave is going and where things are happening. And that's why I think long form conversations, getting to know people. It's like, I'm hoping somebody listening to this who hasn't been to Bar Bohème or hasn't had that experience at Esther's, they're gonna be like, man, this dude's a cool guy. Like, and I get it. But even like you understand the appreciation, like look what he's going through to get that baguette to be the baguette that it should be now,
and it's still not there. And here's the thing is, and that's the thing is, and it won't get there for years, and we know that. But the thing is, you need repetition. Like the thing about kitchens and about restaurants is that it's all about repetition. Like people who are coming to Bohème right now are getting a great experience. It is not the experience we're going to be able to offer in 3 years because we're going to have so many more reps. We're going to know all those little idiosyncrasies about every single dish and point of service, and making sure, like the other day I was just in there and we dropped an onion soup on a table and put it on there and said, oh, this is your French onion soup. And we didn't have a spoon on the table. I'm like, figure it out.
Right. But
but that's the thing is like, I'm sitting here, I'm at the table having a conversation, and the servers here, they're watching the soup get dropped and they're like, dirt. And I'm just like, okay, I totally understand, but figure it the out.
But there's something cool about, like, I was so upset because I overslept and I never do this. I had like the longest week of my life, and Eric Gladstone was going to have me come and check out with some other people. But like, it was like an opportunity to check some things out, Bar Bohème, before you guys really got going. I was like, it's kind of cool because I was like, I can't wait to do this because it's kind of like seeing a band before they hit. You know, and it's like, that's how I thought of it. It's like, okay, I'm going to get to see this. So I think I would actually embrace that fact because I know how you are and the way your mind is and the way your restaurants function, that it's almost kind of like getting to see a group before they're playing the Sphere, because it's like you get to see them work through their things.
See the Eagles at the Troubadour. Why would you want to see him at the Sphere?
Right. So that's why I think there's something cool to that. And sometimes I like a song better when it's the acoustic version and it's a little up and there's, you know, like, I like that stuff. But so wait, another thing, I wrote it down a note. We got to talk. So Willie Nelson, you name dropped that. So I want to know about that experience, but who have you cooked for? Like, in terms of, don't be so humble here. Let's hear some of these names.
I mean, like, when I was in LA, obviously we cooked for everyone. I actually did a private party with Scarlett Johansson and Goldie Hawn's daughter. I forgot.
Oh, Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson. And the girl who played, I don't even know her name, the lady who played like the German spy in Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, she's like a French Melanie something.
Yeah.
Laurent or something.
Yeah, so,
she's like a French. I love.
Yeah, so I got to cook for all those girls when we were opening up a spot. Obviously, Goldie Hawn and her husband
Kurt
Russell, they were cool. Adam Sandler, super cool.
Where did you cook for him? Just
at Hutchinson. It was a place I consulted on and opened, which is now obviously, like, I was consulting. I told those guys, like, you guys are gonna lose money. Here's what's crazy: the day that they signed the Netflix deal, that he signed his 10 deal Netflix deal for Adam Sandler, he came in with Chris Rock and all the guys, the whole crew. Spade, Rob Schneider.
Oh, I love
it. Dude, everyone was there. And we cooked for them, and they had the private room, and they were teeing it up. And this is when I knew these people were going to fail. They didn't charge them. They ran a $20,000 tab, and they comped the whole thing. And I'm like, I literally went to the owner and I yelled at the owner. And I was like, you guys don't understand. He wants to pay.
And Adam seems like a good guy. He would pay that.
Dude, he came there to support the restaurant. And that was a huge turning moment in my entire career where I'm like, stop comping millionaires. Stop it.
So, all right. So let's actually break this down for a second. Why do they do that?
I don't know.
No, but
I give everyone a check. I charged my mom when we opened Esther's.
But why do they not do? Like, explain that to me.
I think it's to garner favor with these people. I'm like,
but what are they expecting? Like, are they expecting a social media post? Are they expecting
before all that? This was 10 years ago. This is 10 years ago. I don't know what they were thinking. All I knew is that they had just lit $3 million on fire. And they were down $3 million. And here's an opportunity to create a guest who, even though he's your friend, because I have guests who are my friends, and I still charge them.
Right.
I have no problem charging them because they're there to support our business.
Right.
Right.
So that's so interesting. So. Yeah. So
and
when
Hollywood's a whole different thing.
So, but even here locally, when we see like a new place open, a new like ramen place, okay, let's just say a random ramen place opens, and then they have an evening where everybody who's an influencer in our city gets an invite. I might get an invite, and then they just have the PR campaign idea is like, we're just gonna invite as many people as possible and have them take a few snaps of our dishes and post it and all that stuff.
That is when you see that, it's terrible. It's terrible for the restaurant. It's terrible for.
So you see everyone. That, and you're like, you're
I
stupid.
See it, and I'm like, well, you just wasted a bunch of money that you need to pay your payroll with. And like, they don't really do that so much with, like, when we do it, and I have to admit that, like, we treat it in a different way. I cook 2 different meals for 2 different sets of people. All right? You have podcasters, influencers, people who do, like, TV shows and stuff like that. And then you have insanely serious food writers. You know, we want to talk about 2 groups of people who are like oil and water, they do not mix. We do not have the food writers sit down with the influencers. We do two completely different meals for them because they're looking for different things and different experiences. Like if you came to Bohème and every single time all you saw was seafood towers and big steaks and these large format, like probably more unapproachable dishes, you'll be like, wow, man, that's an expensive restaurant. This is a really baller thing. And oh, look at this baller dish here, right? Because that's what works for visual media. That's what works for Instagram. That's what works for TikTok, right? Then you have food writers who really care about the details of like where the beef was sourced, how the cuts are done, how the product is processed. And you have to understand that they're going to write and look at different things than the people who are visual, right? They don't care where the oysters are from. Like people who do like, I love JT, It Takes a Bite. I love Phil Zhang. I love these guys. I think they're really sweet people. And I like that they, give us feedback and they're really cool. Awesome. Right? But they are not going to give me the feedback that John Curtis is going to give me.
Right. Or
they're going to be like, this is baller. This is dope. I like this. Oh, maybe you should do this. Right. And then on the other side of it, you have John Curtis, who's like, your baguette needs 15% more hydration.
See that?
He's like,
and that's helpful probably for you. Very helpful.
They both do different things.
So, all right. So a poppy steak, for instance, like because
clown show.
So
it's a clown show.
This is why I love having.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to be amazing. So a few things. One, so like in my business, I guess the equivalent of like a poppy steak would be the talking head who just goes on TV and then says the most outrageous thing possible. So it gets attention.
I wouldn't put it like, no, it's the reality TV of restaurants.
Okay, so it's right.
The housewives of New Jersey. That's what it is.
So, so now tell me, as a guy who went to the not Central Intelligence Agency, Culinary Institute of America, but it's like
worked at the best restaurant.
And it's like the way I
worked at the best restaurant in the world when I was at the Fat Duck.
Right. So you did that. You went to London. You were all over the globe working at these restaurants. And the fascinating thing another thing I want to even talk about is everybody thinks of you as an Italian chef, whereas you're really in New American, which I don't even know what that means, and French, but we'll talk about that as well. But so you had this training, whereas like for me, I felt kind of similar to you. And that's why I think I feel a lot of similarness between us, because I felt like this New Jersey kid who was very crusty and kind of just not polished.
Yeah, no, I'm from the east side of Vegas. I know exactly what you mean.
And then I go to Northwestern, and I couldn't believe that they accepted me. Like I thought there was a mistake actually that occurred because I was so stupid in school. Like
imposter syndrome.
Right, and
Absolutely.
My SAT, like I had a high SAT in certain categories, but then my math, like I almost needed to be like institutionalized. Like there was things that were wrong, and then I felt like I got this acceptance into this trajectory, this factory of people that are so my heroes, Mike Greenberg, Mike Wilbon, all these people who had gone there, and I start thinking J.A. Adonde, I'm like, I can't believe there must have been something wrong with the application. And then I start learning some of these rules and tendencies and then breaking the rules and trying to understand things. But now in media, I get these feelings so many times. My heart hurts sometimes because I was such a traditionalist with appreciating how things were. And now it's probably a lot of the things you feel about your industry. It's like, how is a poppy steak getting so much attention, and the way things are going? I love the podcasting and things like this because I hope people take to things like this. But then I do feel at times with media, it's like, it's just say the craziest thing you can say on a camera, and that's going to be the best way to go about things.
This is the greatest dish you've ever had, and this is that.
So is that kind of what's happening in the restaurateur business as well to a degree, and how do we fight against that?
I think it's like the visual medium, like your Instagram and your TikTok. Those guys, the algorithm loves highs and lows. Either this is the worst experience I've ever had. Like look at like Vegas Starfish, right? This is the worst hotel in Las Vegas. This is the worst restaurant in Las Vegas. This is this, right? Like she thrives and makes a living off of saying how bad some things are. Awesome. You can do that. And on the other side, you have Poppy Steak that's putting out this really average product. And they're like, honestly, I would feel embarrassed to be at a table where they came over and did the briefcase.
Oh, I was there. So I got invited to go with somebody, and I would never go alone, or go on my own accord.
How horrible of an experience was it?
It's so weird because, how do I explain it? I was at a table, and you have just a grouping of maybe the hottest chicks you've ever seen in your entire life parading around a table. And this person, actually, there was a table of people there, and these look like Shahs. Like, this is not just like even a wealthy guy that I would know from a Cherry Hill, New Jersey. No, these are like people who like own sugar, like
exactly.
They own commodities. Like this guy
they own senators.
Right. Yeah. It's like they own sugar. So they actually provide the sugar to Sweet and Low. Like stuff like that. We've already cursed so much. I'll just say like that. Anyway, so they have this thing at Poppy Steak where they come out with a briefcase. Like it's like a chest that like
they call it the beef case. It's the most annoying, dumb thing of all time.
So like it's like a briefcase. It's like it would be like a John Wick villain would like come out with something like
it should be like attached to someone's cuff to someone's like hand.
And they bring it out, and it starts becoming like Tiesto just arrived to their restaurant, and all of a sudden it's popping. And there's not three. It's not like when
it's like 12 people.
It's not like when your weird uncle who's like Michael Scott takes you to like a Mexican restaurant and says it's your birthday when it's not, and four people, four people come out and say Feliz cumpleaños, like it's not that. It's like imagine that
on steroids,
but with maybe 50 people coming out
with like effects, and they have a light inside the stupid like briefcase, and they go like this, and there's like this gold, and there's like smoke from like putting dry ice in the thing,
and then they brand it.
Yeah, but here's the thing is that, and it costs like $1,500, right, for that steak.
Yeah.
Do you know they do the same thing for you for $500 with no steak?
Right. So people are paying $1,000 for that.
$500 for a show.
Oh, 500. Yeah.
They'll pay $500 for that stupid show. And here's the thing is it's literally people who are so emotionally empty that this is the only thing that can fulfill them.
Is that what it is?
I believe
are we being harsh though? Or
no, those people. No, if you do that, you're a garbage person. If you allow that to happen to you, you're like, I would feel violated. If someone did that, if someone just,
I'm sure people.
If I was with someone, if me and you went to dinner and like we're like at Washing Potato next door and they came over and did that, I would get up and I'd leave.
Well, I have news for you. Tomorrow night, I'm sure I have issues, but everybody does. But I don't have whatever that is. Thank God. Like I have a lot of things, but I really don't have that. And I know a lot of people. A lot of
morality.
Well, I don't know what it is. I'm not saying I'm the greatest human being, but there's. I do think the way my parents raised me, the way my grandparents, I'm not, whatever that is, I don't have that dark of a hole inside. No, thank God.
Yeah, the grandiosity of a human being. That
I would be embarrassed
to go through that process.
Yeah.
I would feel an embarrassment to a level where I would no longer want to be around any of those people.
The problem is I like a lot of girls who would like that experience.
Right. And here's the thing is like,
that's the problem. I'm dating people who want that experience and I would be embarrassed by it.
And then after dinner, they're going to want you to go out to, to Boucheron and buy him a necklace or whatever, right? And those are the kind of people, like those kind of things in life. I have absolutely no want or need for any of that.
Right.
I get the most pleasure in my entire life out of watching my team succeed. That's where I derive pleasure from. I have no problem telling everyone what I feel about certain things. I hate this thing in life where we're showing off.
Yeah.
Like where people are like the flex culture and all that.
Yeah.
I will never have a restaurant that's like that.
Yeah, you won't have a restaurant that has like the sign where you take your selfie when you walk in, and they have the wall with the lighting.
But that's the thing is we had that at Esther's. Like we had the Esther's Kitchen sign. Thousands of people took a picture.
But it wasn't made for that.
No, in fact,
but people make
my neighbor said, "Hey, you need a piece of neon because you're in the arts district." And I was like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "Here, write on this." And he's like, "Write the name of your restaurant." I wrote Esther's Kitchen, right? He went and had that turned into a piece of neon and then put it up in my restaurant for me. I was like, dude, that's wild. I didn't expect it. It was like one of those things, and people just loved it, and that's great. But I'm like, every time I had to take a picture in front of it, I was like, this is nice. I hope you guys enjoyed your meal. I don't really care about the picture.
What would great Aunt Esther say if she was at Poppy's Steak and that happened? What would be her reaction? I want to learn a little bit about her.
She would have hated it. She was like, you have to understand, like, this is a person who lived in Beverly Hills. Her husband, my Uncle Gene, was a pharmaceutical salesman and a vitamin salesman in the 70s and 80s. He was, I think he was like 1984, like the Democrat of the year for California.
Really?
Like he was very undercover, very soft-spoken, very cool. And they lived in Beverly Hills and had this amazing house, and they took care of, they sent money to my mom every year, so we had good Christmas presents and stuff like that. I mean, the things that they did for their family was amazing.
This was your mom's sister?
This was my mom's aunt.
Okay, your great aunt. Yeah. Your mom's aunt.
And I'll tell you right now, she would absolutely look at those people and think they're trash. and that's the truth. And I'll be 100% honest. Like when I see these things, and I see what goes on in these restaurants, these the stupid Salt Bay stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it's embarrassing. It's like you watching Penetration Island. You're like, why am I watching this? Like, why is this happening to my medium? Why is this happening in something I care about? Television. I care about this stuff. Like it matters, right? It's just awful.
Penetration.
I was thinking of the worst idea. My idea.
That actually sounds pretty good.
Well, you have to realize the people who made the Swan.
Yeah.
Also make Hell's Kitchen. So they can do both, right? Like they do extremes, like Arthur Smith, A. Smith Productions. Arthur is an amazing guy. He wrote a book called Reach, and I'll tell you right now, like I've read his book, and the things that I get out of that about like how he took something like cooking and put it into the mainstream. He created Hell's Kitchen, right, for America. He brought that over. He saw the value in it, put it in front of people, and the reach that has had in my industry, whether positive or negative, the reach itself is amazing, right? Like what you're going for with like podcasting your medium is you want reach, right? How do you create bigger reach? And if you read his book, he actually talks about, here are the things that we did to create reach.
How do you create reach without becoming Poppy Steak is the question. So, how do I stay true to myself and the things that I think are valuable and the things that I would want to listen to? How do I do that and also grow and be successful?
You emulate the parts of whatever medium you're working in, and you emulate the parts that you love about something that has, because the things that are going to fill you up are they have to be fulfilling, therefore they have to be filled with something. The thing that I hate about the Poppy Steak beef case thing and the whole entire thing where they bring out the crab and all that is that it doesn't translate to the food being good. Because if you actually eat the food at Poppy Steak, it's pretty below average. Now, if you could do the show and give a great experience on top, or like give great food on top of that, and be proud of the food you're serving, because there's another steakhouse that does more revenue right around the corner. It's called Don's Prime, and Chef Patrick Munster is in there, and he keeps his head down. And he cooks, and he does great work, and they have a great team, and the service is fantastic, and the food is immaculate.
I've interviewed him. He was at 1-7.
He was at One Steakhouse.
One Steakhouse,
and then before that, and then after that, he was at Main Street Provisions for a little while.
Yeah.
Like, he's a great chef who executes great food, but no one talks about him because he's not doing the Poppy Steak thing. But over a period of time, he
Yeah.
wins because quality and dignity win over BS. Like, who was on the 3rd season of The Real World? No one cares. Who won Top Chef last year? No one cares.
Right.
Who's on this new TV show that's about food and cooking on television? No one cares. Why? Because that medium is now past. No one cares about that stuff anymore. So all those people who thought they were accomplishing these things and have set up their careers
Yeah.
in order to have that 5 minutes, 10 minutes of fame, the time has passed.
And you're probably right. And you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
You're doing it for the wrong reasons. You're
if
doing
that's
it
where
for
you're-
an egocentric, very specific to you reason. The reason why you order the beef case is for that reason, right? You're doing it as an egotistic kind of moment.
Yeah.
Like I said, I get the best happiness of my entire life watching other people succeed. Like being a good boss, because I've had some of the best bosses and I've had some of the worst bosses you could ever ask for, right? And I learned from both of them. I learned what kind of boss I don't want to be, and I learned what kind of boss I want to be. And I want to be the boss that supports my team, that allows them to like achieve whatever they want to achieve. Like Kat at Ada's, right?
Yeah, Kat Thomas. We love her.
She's amazing,
Yeah.
right? Do you know how hard it is to be her boss?
She's scary.
She
She's
doesn't
scary
make
in a
it
sweet
easy.
way.
She doesn't
Yeah.
make it easy,
But
right?
no, she's
But she also won Best Original Wine List in the World from Fine Wine Magazine last year,
right.
right? Which I flew her and Jackson out to London to watch them achieve.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to understand, like this is a very undercover kind of restaurant. The people who won the award before we won was Single Thread in Napa or in Sonoma. They're a 3 Michelin star, like 5-star, 5-diamond restaurant. We won our award, and the next one went to Jason Atherton's Sketch, which is a 2 Michelin star, 5-diamond, 5-star place in London. Like, this is the characterization.
Wow.
You can have both. And we feel like the outside. We still feel like the outsiders. We feel like the imposters. Just to hear the other people who are in our category was amazing. To be mentioned next to them, that was worth flying everybody out
That's
and putting them up
exciting.
and doing everything, right?
Yeah.
But watching her achieve that and get the recognition that she well deserved for creating something that was so special, which is the ever growing and expanding wine list at Ada's. Like seeing her win that makes me happy. Watching Tucker win cocktail competitions and watching, like, you know, we had a cocktail competition a few months ago where we put 3 people in and they took 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place in the cocktail competition. That makes me feel happy because we've allowed those people to achieve things that they want
thrive.
to achieve.
Yeah, it's
right?
a special thing.
When Dallas, who started as a hostess for me and has worked for me since almost day one at Esther's, bought her condo and bought a house, right? That achievement for her is what I derive happiness from. I don't derive happiness from, from being able to go buy a $1,500 beef case and a bottle of champagne.
Would you were a finalist for a James Beard Award. Would a Michelin star, would a James Beard Award winner, like, would those things matter to you? Like, would they give you happiness or no? That.
No, because I'm not motivated by that kind of stuff. Like the achievement. And here's the thing is, like, I every year when the James Beard Awards, I always make sure that if I know someone who's been nominated, I'm like, hey man, congratulations. Just do your thing. Don't change stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I really think that, that chefs change for awards. I think if we had Michelin here, Esther's would be a different restaurant.
What do you mean if we had Michelin here?
We don't have Michelin stars in Las Vegas. We haven't since 2008. Like,
who was the last one?
So I think it was like 2009 was the last one, and I think Robuchon got 3 Michelin stars, but that means they haven't been rated in 20 years, and they're doing the exact same food, right? So here's the thing: it's like you have to hit a bar, right? And like one of the great people in our business, Marco Pierre White, said it best. He's like, when you're pushing towards 3 Michelin stars, you're refining and working every day and creating consistency and creating new dishes. And there's huge like thing. Like everyone's working 16, 17, 20 hours a day. When I worked at the Fat Duck, Heston Blumenthal was working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. 120 to 140 hours a week. He was working that on his feet. Like, but you go there and it's Alice in Wonderland, right? That's what it is, right? And it took that kind of dedication to create that. And it's and creating it and opening a restaurant is the hardest thing in the world. That being said, you hit that point where you hit 3 Michelin stars, you win best restaurant in the world. Now what?
Right.
You worked your whole entire life for a piece of paper or an accolade, but what did you create? Like, did you create yourself happiness, or did you create yourself your own prison?
And a lot of people need that driving force, but then yes, once they get it, what's next? And I'm sure you've seen that amongst a lot of your peers.
I definitely I saw it in myself, especially. Like, I turned, 40 years old, and I actually had some time to myself for a minute. And guess what? I realized something very easy. I don't have hobbies.
Right.
My hobby is work.
Right.
My hobby is...
But don't you think a lot of successful people, that's what it is? Like, at a certain point, if you were super into hobbies, I don't know if you would be as good at your craft. I don't know if your restaurants would be as good. So that's the dichotomy of all this. It's like, that's a phenomenal thing to understand. But at the end of the day, if you're not obsessive about it, I just don't know if it's going to be that good.
Right. And here's the thing, that the world that we live in.
So I don't have that answer.
The butthole who's ordering the Poppy steak beef case, and his family-owned sugar, never had to work for anything.
Right.
So this thing that's happening to him is the only thing that can fulfill him, because those people are so empty.
It's an injection of juice. Yeah.
It's an injection of what? Of what?
But I mean, it gives you it's like it's an addiction kind of thing. It's a fascinating thing. You said knowledge is power in the kitchen. What does that mean?
I mean, everything it's so funny because, like, when you're first learning cooking and you start to understand that all cooking is chemistry and math and art and science and history all kind of rolled up into one. Like, the more knowledge that you have, like, if you want to learn about Venetian food, but you can't go to Venice because you're a poor kid from the East Side, you go work for a chef who worked in Venice, like I did with Luke Palladino. You also start to study, how the 14th century Venice ruled the world.
Wow.
Right? You also start to understand where the spices in Italian food started to make their way in there, due to the Venetians going around and being able to have one of the greatest navies of all time, going around all the way to China, getting spices, bringing them back, bringing pasta to Italy, bringing all these things, right? Without the knowledge and the history part of it, you're not able to complete the journey.
That's so fast.
Right?
That's
so when you make a pasta and you're like, I want it to have these vibes, without the knowledge, that's how you end up with, like, carne asada pizzas, right? Because it's like, oh, this is what I know. I know I like Mexican food and I like pizza. Man, I should put them together, right? That's what Roy Choi did, right? Roy Choi took street tacos and Korean barbecue and put them together. That's how he got famous. And he did it at the right time, at the right spot. Like, I remember I lived in Venice, California, when he had the original Kogi truck in front of the Brig. And I used to eat there when he used to work on the truck.
But now he did it to a level that's really impressive, is it?
Right.
Or no? Or
but look what happened. Like, he took something, two things that he loved, and he turned it into stoner food, which is great. That's really, like, if you look at his food, it's stoner food. It's not Korean food.
Right.
Right? Like Roberto's, like, if I decide, like, oh, it'd be great is if I put Korean barbecue into this carne asada burrito. Well, guess what? I could create a trend and I could do an Instagram thing and I could have a line of people lined up for it, right?
Yeah.
But after people have that experience, and I didn't follow through because I didn't understand customer service, because I didn't understand hospitality, because I didn't understand how to price things, how I didn't like, and that line evaporates. Then how do you run a business?
No,
you go out of business. And that's what happens. That's what the reason why knowledge is power, because you have to know how to run a restaurant from the ground up. And I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, I'm going to start a food truck. I'm like, why? It's the hardest business to do. Like, you have to be 300 feet from every other food establishment, right? You have to get someone to allow you to use their restrooms. You also have to have a commissary that you store your space at. You have to prep there. You have to load up your truck. You have to hope the refrigeration works. You have to go somewhere. You have to set up. You have to open. You have to cook food. And at the end of it, you have to clean, you have to go back, you have to drop your gray water, you have to redo your propane tanks, you have to do all this stuff. It is so much harder to do a food truck than it is to run a restaurant.
So when I see that trend on social media, every time I'm on social media, I get this clip of people bringing like their own potato chips or something to a truck. And the guy starts putting in halal, like in the bag that you bring.
Oh, the Akiway?
Like that's
like the Akiway guy, right? It's awesome.
guess that's what. So that guy is hoping for what? He's hoping
that he has a line out the door.
Yeah.
Right, but you also have to realize that's just a convenience store. It's a bodega in New York.
Okay.
That's what it is. And they're like, yo, can you make these the Aki way?
But I see them in a parking lot sometimes. Like, you know, there's people that are doing out of a food truck in a parking lot and all that stuff.
Possibly, right? And that's the thing. Says, like, what is that? It's another Instagram trend.
Gotcha.
And in 6 months, the algorithm will drop that because no one cares about it anymore, and it'll move on to the next thing.
Gotcha.
In a year, no one's going to care about Poppy Steak. It's just not, no one will care about it at all. Like, they have one gimmick. They do the one gimmick, and they can do it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Like at first, it was just the briefcase. Now they have the little carousel thing that comes out, right? What's next? They're getting a choo-choo train that goes around? Like, I mean, like, I don't get it. Like, right? How is that improving the dining experience for the guest? And most likely, it's pissing off everyone else in the room.
Okay, this has been our best. This is what Dry Heat is all about, everybody. Just to let everybody know this right now. This is what Dry Heat is truly about. The honesty, the heart. Okay, there's a few things I want to do before we wrap up. So, so Bar Bohème. So this is exciting because a lot of your training is really in French and New American, and everybody thinks because of Al Solito and because of Esther's, you're like this Italian chef guy.
Right.
But you were actually always working back. I found this so fascinating. It's almost like you were working backwards more so with that stuff. And now this is really going to your true training and what you've really, so this is a really exciting kind of like opportunity for you.
Here's the thing is this is the most egotistic menu I've ever written. And I have to be thoughtful about that because I want to put things on that I want to cook that necessarily people might not like.
Well, there's a lot I like because you're paying homage to, I wrote his name down somewhere. I love Dover Soul, and you're paying homage to Andre Rocher.
Andre Rochat.
Oh, Rochat.
He was the original celebrity chef in Las Vegas. He's the man. He owned Andre's. You know the scene in Casino where they're walking through Nicky Santoro's restaurant, right?
Yeah.
That restaurant is Andre's. It's on 6th.
Wow. Okay.
And that
so
was him on the
Scorsese's
pass.
movie,
The old dude on the pass. That's Andre.
Okay, I got to go back and watch Scorsese's movie. I love that.
Oh, darn, you got to go watch Casino.
I love Casino. It's one of my favorites.
I worked for him at Alizé, and the Dover Soul Veronique was something that I learned from him. And I learned it at his restaurant, and I thought it was a very exceptional version of that dish. And I wanted to make it in my own way for Bohème.
Okay, so you got that. You got the baguettes we know about. Mm-hmm. You also got this hamburger, Le Hamburger. This looks really, because there's steak frites, which I always love as too, but you got this hamburger, right? What is the deal? Break down this hamburger.
All right, so the burger is like, I am for the most part over the smash burger thing. Like, I get it, and it's fine, and it's cool. Everyone uses Martin potatoes buns, which are great. And if you want a $6 cheeseburger, that's awesome. But now those $6 cheeseburgers are $15. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I understand people trying to run a business, whatever. But for me, the smash burger is fried too hard. It's too crunchy. It doesn't like...
There's a lot of grease.
It's a lot of grease. It's a lot of that, right? So what we did is we make our own potato bun. We make our own buns for this burger. It is my friend Eric Greenspan's cheese that he makes called New School American Cheese.
American cheese.
He basically took aged cheddar and turned it into American cheese
without like all the processed bad stuff.
Without the bad stuff. It's like literally, it's like it's like aged cheddar cream and a small amount of sodium citrate and salt. And
Why do we love American cheese? American cheese tastes so
meltiness.
good.
It's meltiness.
Yeah,
it's all
so
about the
good.
melt.
Like whenever I have
Yeah.
it, like, and it's such because I love cheese, but it's like when you have American cheese with such fake cheese, it just for some reason it tastes so good.
Well, there's two different kinds. There's like the Kraft American cheese,
Yeah.
which is the best.
Right.
Like like that one is the best. And then they have that one is milk based.
Yeah.
And then they have another one where this is more like what people call government cheese,
Yeah.
which people think it's the same thing, and it's not. And it's
No.
made with oil and whey from milk processing.
Interesting.
And you can do things both ways. But my guy, he created this great American cheese, and I'm like all about it. And then for the burger blend, like we do 50-50 brisket and chuck, and
Whoa.
the brisket is dry aged, so it's got a little tiny bit of funk to it, which is amazing. And all we do is we put it on the flat top, we sear it, we cook it to whatever temperature you want, because it's not going to be overtly well done. If you want a medium rare burger, we're happy to give it to you, right? And then we do Dijonnaise, sliced pickles, like little cornichons. We slice them up, put them underneath.
Oh, I like cornichon.
Build that, right? Because it's the dill pickle. And then like little bites of it, so it's not like obtrusive.
Yeah.
And then we put down a layer of caramelized onions, put the cheese on, melt the cheese, and then put Dijonnaise in the bun on top.
Oh my God.
We're not doing anything that's overtly crazy, right? It's kind of if you took the Au Cheval burger from Chicago, from Hog Salt Group, which is an amazing group. They own Bavette's, which is the
here
best.
at Park MGM. Okay.
Which is one of the best steakhouses on the strip.
I've never
for
been.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. They created the old fashioned. The best way to go there, don't make a reservation, just go sit at the bar.
Wait. They created the old fashioned?
Created the old fashioned.
Kind like how Fridays created the Long Island iced tea?
Or the mudslide, yeah. Exactly right. Yeah, give them the mudslide, not the Long Island.
But Bavette's created the old fashioned. Where was that originally?
In Chicago.
Wow.
I think it's like 1908
How
or
did I not
something.
know that? Okay, that's so interesting.
And so here's the thing: is like so this is a restaurant with history, and they created a restaurant called Au Cheval, and all Au Cheval is known for is their burger. Like you go to Chicago, it's a 3-hour wait. If you get there, it's a 3-hour wait to eat at the restaurant. So like what we do is you go down the street to their Spring Street Meats spot and hang out there, and then you go over and you have the burger at Au Cheval, and it's totally worth it. And so we use that as the basis to create our burger, right? So like I also say this, knowledge is power. The other thing that I tell people all the time is there's nothing new. Nothing is new. Like, I'm sorry, like everything's been done. If you think that you've created something that no one else has done before, you're not looking hard enough and you don't have enough knowledge. That's it. Like at the end of the day, like what we're doing here, this format has been done a million times by a million different people.
No.
What makes sure is different is that you're willing to take the things that you like, add them in, and then remove the things you don't like. That's great. That's exactly what we do with food, right? The ever evolution of food is just the refinement of someone else's idea,
Gotcha.
right? And that's something that like if you really want to humble yourself as a chef, as a podcaster, as anything else, look at the other people that came before you and realize that they didn't have a blueprint like you do.
Yeah.
Like
No.
every single thing that we do in the restaurant business is built on someone else's success or failure.
100%. Listen, I think I love Dave Portnoy's courage and stuff, and he's done a lot of interesting things. There's no Dave Portnoy without Howard Stern.
Right.
You know, there's just not.
Yeah.
You know, there's 100 people.
And he wouldn't be doing pizza reviews if someone else hadn't been doing food reviews.
Right. No, there's always and that's why we're gleaning and we're always taking inspirations from other types of things. Wow. So, okay. So Bar Bohème, we got that. We got to make sure we go check that out.
Yep.
I can't wait to check out this great baguette. Real quickly, as we're wrapping up here, from a Vegas standpoint, where is Vegas? You've worked in London. You've worked in New York. You've worked at all the best places in the world. Where is Las Vegas right now in terms of a culinary destination? Where would you rank us in terms of everywhere on earth? You're combining like a top 10 list. Is Vegas on this top 10 list?
Vegas doesn't make the top 100. Very simply put. I mean, when you look at if you haven't traveled and you haven't gone to Paris, you haven't gone to Lyon, and you haven't gone to Barcelona, and you haven't gone to Madrid, and you haven't gone to Torino, and you haven't gone to Verona, and you haven't gone to Venice, and you haven't gone to Rome, and you haven't gone to Switzerland, you haven't gone to all these other places that have hundreds and hundreds of years, you might actually be ignorant enough to think that Vegas even scratches the surface of what the world can do. The closest thing we have to something that's world class in Las Vegas is Chinatown, because it's representative of all the small parts of China, and like Hunanese, Shanghai, Chengdu, all these different places, Taiwan, like all these different places are amazing culinary meccas. If you've never been to the night markets in Bangkok, if you haven't gone to Singapore, you might actually think that Vegas is anywhere on the map.
Okay, I'm ignorant. The
reason why Vegas isn't on the map is because we import all of our talent. We don't home grow it.
Well, you're homegrown.
Yeah, but I'm the exception to the rule. But also, like, you don't see, my name on marquees on Las Vegas Boulevard.
Well, maybe one day. Would you like that?
No.
Maybe one day.
No, I mean, like, I'm doing a deal right now with a hotel, but it's on my own terms, and I had to take less than I thought I should get, and I had to do it. Like, and I had to make that.
Can you tell us what this is?
Technically, no. So
what can you tell us? Tell us a little something.
It'll be a steakhouse.
Okay.
That's all you have to know. Right?
Okay.
I'm doing a steakhouse, and here's the thing: is I'm doing a steakhouse simply because I think all the other steakhouses in the city are manned by some of the best chefs in Las Vegas, who are the least supported chefs in Las Vegas. Like, we want to do things the way the chefs wish they could do them.
For a steakhouse.
Right. Because if you got John George on the front of your restaurant, guess what you have to do? You have to do John George food. Right? The cool thing about my group is we're chameleons. We get to do whatever we want. We want to cook French, we cook French. We want to cook Italian, we cook Italian. We want to cook American, we cook American.
Right.
We want to do wine bar.
So it sounds like
Basque wine bar, we do that.
The autonomy is really key here, and having
That's what you
not
need to
making
grow.
that deal with the devil that is great in some ways, but then kind of handicaps you in other ways that don't technically become seen to the everyman like
Think
me.
about it like this. The people who are running Las Vegas hotels, and this is the reason why they're out of ideas, is because they came without an idea. They worked in a system that funneled them up for success, was to screw over the person before them and make 1/10 better of a food cost percentage. And that's how they went from being a food and beverage manager to being a food and beverage director. Now that food and beverage director, who's never really worked in great restaurants, doesn't know the business, is now in charge of telling $10 million, $20 million, $30 million restaurants how to run their business. And the only thing they know is how to cut. They don't know how to build. And that is the thing that's the most wrong with every part of our casino culture and the hotel culture. Like, if you look at it, what were we touting for years and years and years? More and more profitability, right? More and more profitability. What are people complaining about the most about Las Vegas now? Unaffordability, right? Do you see a problem with this system?
I do, but you know
Why
what else?
Why would I buy into that?
You know why? You know what I really see? I'm being honest. When you were saying all that, I don't know. I'm just going to say this as we're wrapping this up. I think I got a little hit of something. You know that influence from your wealthy family from Beverly Hills that was giving money to your mom, supporting your great aunt and all that stuff, the Democratic. You might have a political future in yourself.
I would be terrible.
I'm telling you, I think you would be, there might be a future where you're like governor, mayor. There might be something happening with this because you would be really good.
I'm not.
You would
I'm
be.
Not. I'm good at like putting food on a plate and trying not to lose money.
But it's a lot bigger than that. I don't know. I'm getting a little whiff of that. It's kind of interesting stuff. All right, so we learned that real quickly. Forget 100 in the world. Would Vegas be top 10 in the U.S.?
No.
Where would Vegas be in the U.S. really?
Probably top 25.
Okay.
It would be top 25 cities. I mean, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle all have better food scenes than we do. Okay, let's move over. Salt Lake City's got a decent food scene, but they're not quite there. Phoenix crushes us, right? With like Maple and Ash and all those companies down there, Fox Restaurant Group that came out of that. Dallas is where Olive Garden came from. That whole entire thing, like seriously, like Texas, Houston, Miami, all crush us.
Okay.
Orlando crushes us. Nashville crushes us. Like every Denver murders us. Boulder, Colorado murders us. New York, 19 places in New Jersey probably have better food than Las Vegas.
Wow.
Like if you really, really think about it, like we import the best from every other city. Then we water it down to fit into a casino. And then we wonder why people are like, oh yeah, great.
Well, you know what? We've learned a lot today. We've learned a lot. I've cursed more professionally today than I've ever cursed in my life.
This is light work for me. I can do much better.
Which is a blessing. Yeah. How realistic is the bear? How often do people say yes, chef, in your kitchens?
A lot. That being said, we do, it's a hierarchy and it's care, we do, line sweep instead of like housekeeping, so say that.
You were watching it and thinking this is legit, or you were thinking, oh, this is,
I'm watching the bear. I'm watching the bear and I'm seeing it through the eyes of myself if I was in that position.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it at a deep level, but the thing is that people think that that's a drama. It's a comedy.
Oh yeah,
It's a comedy. Like at the end of the day, they're trying to make laughs and all these things. I love the Xanax and the in the Ecto Cooler. I love that kind. I thought that was hilarious and very well written. The part where he's having a massive breakdown on the pass and loses his shit and then goes into the walk-in and sits down and accidentally locks himself in there and like talks shit to himself until he like is down
rescued
and dumped.
Yeah.
Right. And he like ruins his relationship at the meeting. I've been there. I know how that feels. I know how he feels in that walk-in, surrounded by everything that like you love and hate at the exact same time.
So they did they took a lot of good things from the experience.
The chef who is the helper on that show, who is the person who like is deriving a lot of that stuff, is Maddie Matheson. Maddie Matheson is he's
the tatted up guy. Yeah, he's really good. He's funny. He's a good actor too.
They're like throughout the show, they're like, "Hey, can I cook?" And they're like, "What? No, you can't cook. What are you talking about?"
But he's
an amazing chef.
Oh, that's funny.
Like 6 restaurants in Montreal. He has cookbooks. He has one of the best like Vice channels, or like he's on Vice and stuff.
Yeah.
His content is amazing and he's a great ambassador. But he doesn't mince words, like addiction's addiction. Like it's really easy to get addicted to booze, addicted to drugs in this business because of the amount of pressure that we put ourselves under. It's not like we go home and we turn off being a chef.
No, there's definitely, we touched on it earlier in this conversation. There's a rock and roll culture where there's I think for outsiders like me, there's a glamour to the struggle and to the culture that is hyper, it's accentuated to a degree because of people like me, probably. But, you're living it, you're breathing it, and you're understanding it from a different angle. But it's kind of, the same, and I think Bourdain helped a little bit with that kind of rock and roll culture. And
the most accurate scenes in The Bear are the ones where he's picking peas and the guy next to him is picking peas and they're just working and something goes wrong. He's like, no, like this, chef. No, like this, chef.
Right.
Do it like this. Do it like that. That is the most accurate description of how high-end restaurants work. And you're literally looking at the guy next to you who's one of your best friends that you want to murder.
What about the Joel McHale character when he's training, who like is screaming? Like it's almost
he doesn't scream.
Well, he
whispers murderous thoughts.
But it's like,
if I'm screaming,
the intensity.
If I'm screaming in the restaurant, people are like, "Oh yeah, chef's mad." If I walk up to you and I'm like, "I'm very disappointed in your performance today," and I say that. That shatters that cook's world. They cry instantaneously. They will leave. They will go outside, and they may not ever come back.
So, who was your Joel McHale, and when did that occur? Does that happen at CIA? Does that happen at the Fat Duck? When does those?
You know what? So I came from restaurant culture before it got pretty. When I worked at Le Bernardin with Eric Repair, and he literally looked at what I was doing. And he's like, so you want to be average your whole life? And he just said that and walked back to the past. That destroyed me. It destroyed me. Like, yeah. That was a moment, and I was like 21 years old, that I was just like, no, right? And I remember, like, I was yelling at one of my cooks a long time ago, and he actually made a movie about this, which is hilarious. His name is Phil Franklinly, right? Like, he has 2 Michelin stars now. He owns Scratch Bar, right?
Okay.
It's a sushi thing that they're doing. It's like Joe Rogan's favorite sushi in the world, right?
Okay.
So he's got 10 of these things now, right? And he's got Michelin stars. He's got all this stuff. I took him in the office and I laced him. I yelled at him, right? I was like, you're doing this wrong. You're being lazy. You're doing this. And he's like, why do you treat me different than you treat everybody else? And I literally turned to him and I said, because you're not like everybody else. And if you're not going to be like everyone else, do you really want to be like those cooks out there who are going out and getting fucked up every night, who are not taking themselves seriously? Do you want to make a career out of this? Do you want to be successful in this business? Because if you continue down this path, that's where you're going. And he literally wrote it into a movie that he wrote about, like, the trauma I caused him because I didn't treat him like everybody else.
Wait, he doesn't recognize that.
Oh, now 15 years later, like, he's like one of my great friends. I love the guy to death. I saw him at Pebble Beach Food and Wine. Give him a big hug. Love the guy to death.
Does he think that was necessary for his success?
When he won his Michelin stars, he called me before he called his mom.
Wow, that says it all.
That's it.
That says it all. Listen, this has been one of my greatest pleasures as a professional broadcaster. This is why I do these things, really.
This is cool, man.
I really appreciate your candor, your openness, your honesty, how heartfelt you are. This is, when I started the show, this is what I wanted. And you know what? Gilbert Gottfried, before he passed away, was on one of the first episodes of this, Grand Funk Railroad. Nice. A lot of great open conversations, but this has been my favorite. This has been so much fun. I think people are really going to love this, how open and honest. You're going to be a new fan favorite. You're going to have to come back. I don't know what we're going to hit next. Maybe when this steakhouse is
when I invite you to the steakhouse so I can show you my meat case.
You better have a choo-choo train. That's all.
We're putting the tracks in now. Okay?
Listen, everybody, Bar Bohème, go check it out. I can't wait to. I'm gonna go do this because I haven't been to Paris. I got to try these baguettes, so I got to go do that. Good. And then, of course, it's my go-to spot. You guys all know, between Al Solito, Ada's, Esther's, it's all the best stuff. James, you said that we're not in the top 100. Or maybe 25 when it comes to domestically, but you're homegrown. You're born and raised. You went to Las Vegas High School. You know this. I think one day we're going to be looking back and thinking, we can point to you as a guy who was born here and who's creating a new culture and a new standard. So I appreciate everything you're doing.
But I have to say that, the same year that I opened up Esther's, Brian Howard opened up Sparrow and Wolf.
You're in a great place.
More influential, probably, for the bridge between French and Chinese.
I had Milk Bread there with Eric Gladstone with a girl named Jasmine, and I was on TV. And do you remember in Aladdin, when I was a big Aladdin fan, the animated version, and when Aladdin is running through the streets with his monkey and he's stealing a loaf of bread? Yeah. I wanted to steal that loaf of milk bread. It was the greatest thing I never had milk bread. It was the greatest thing I ever tasted. And her name was Jasmine, who was making. So it was like, I'm Aladdin. I'm stealing a loaf of bread and her name's Jasmine. But
so that place. And then you also have Anima by Oscar Amador and Roberto Leendo, EDO, that place. We opened, all of us, within a year of each other, within that year. Yeah. I think that will be the point that we look back and be like, this was the bellwether where chefs took back control from the Strip.
What year is this?
I guess that's 2018.
Okay.
So between 2017 and 2018, that was the year that we started. Now we're at 25. We're not even at 10 years yet. And I see more and more great restaurants opening off the Strip. You start to see other people from the Strip moving away from the Strip. You know, like Sean McClain opened up Wino, stuff like that. Like these are all bellwethers for what it means to be for Las Vegas to have its own food scene. Like I hope in the next few years we start exporting talent rather than importing it. And I really hope the Strip wakes up and changes the direction that they're going. But I mean, like, meanwhile, I say that and they're giving Lisa Vanderpump a hotel, which makes no sense at all.
Wow.
So it's like these are the things. Like we gotta, you know, I really hope as we move forward, we're gonna get to a good place. And I think if we do things holistically, we do things with care, and we keep building teams and keep building chefs, and like, you know, my sous chefs go off and open restaurants and do all this stuff, that's where we will become successful.
I love it. I've learned so much. I'm a better person for this. I hope everybody at home is so as well. The great James Trees, thank you so much for joining us here. Dry Heat, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time here in the Den at Fox 5.